Introduction. Let's be clear about something here before we begin. Everybody is an expert, or expert enough, in at least one body of knowledge. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe you know how to sing a little better than everybody else. Maybe you know your way around the basketball court. Maybe you have discovered a way of running a little bit faster. Or maybe you know how to make money with Twitter or Facebook. Regardless of who you're dealing with, everybody has at least one area of expertise. We can all agree on this because not all of us have the same experiences. Not all of us have had the same things happen to us. It is precisely this difference in experience levels that makes hanging out with our friends and family members so rich and rewarding. We get to look at the world from many different eyes and different perspectives. We also get to explore it through our shared stories at different times. Since this is the case, did you know that people might actually pay for your expertise? This is the reason why the online coaching business is a large multi-million-dollar industry. People all over the world are interested in what other people have to teach them. In fact, you only need to look at platforms like Udemy and the huge following of tutorial channels on YouTube to get a rough idea of the demand out there. There is also a tremendous variety of online education platforms that help people improve their expertise in a wide range of knowledge areas. Online coaching is really just a variation of online education. Of course, this is informal. You normally do not get some sort of certification or diploma after finishing a course. Still, the essence is the same. People are looking for information that others possess. What's more, people are willing to pay money to get this information. There is a tremendous demand for online coaching services because, let's face it, we live in a world that is increasingly expertise-based. How come? Well, the internet actually has a paradoxical effect on people. As more and more information accumulates online, people feel isolated and alienated from any definitive claim of expertise. In other words, if you're going to claim to be an expert or a guru in a certain subject, you better know your stuff. Most people lack that confidence, and that's why they hunger for specialized information. They know that as information continues to grow on the internet, our knowledge becomes more and more specialized. It's as if we can only focus on topics that are an inch wide and a mile deep. We focus on the thing that we know, and we barely go beyond our comfort zone. If we want to pick up certain information to at least get a practical understanding of it, that's when we need coaching. Because, let's face it, while you can figure this information out by going through all sorts of blogs and downloading all sorts of free resources, who has the time? Most people wish there were more hours in the day because they're so busy. Not surprisingly, there's a tremendous demand for online coaching because you cut straight to the chase. Instead of your client going through website after website trying to chase after the right information, you dish it out in such a way that they get all the information that they need, and they can acquire the knowledge that they're looking for on their own terms and on their own schedule. Given these market realities, the demand for online coaching services will continue to rise in the foreseeable future. Platforms like Udemy, as well as free resources like Codecademy and YouTube how-to channels, are just the beginning. This space is continuing to evolve. Become part of that market evolution by starting your own online coaching business. This training gives you an overview of what's out there, the different models you can explore, and what to look for in terms of opportunities and potential problems. The benefits of selling your expertise. Every person has at least some information or interest in information that they can potentially make money with. The next step is to figure out the form this takes and what actual benefits you stand to gain. Sell information you're passionate about. As I've mentioned earlier, people simply do not have the time to chase after information and then filter that material. They really cannot be bothered. Maybe they're too busy. Maybe they feel that they do not have the proper expertise or the background to do it. Whatever the case may be, they would rather go to somebody who is so passionate about a specific body of knowledge that they have put in the time, effort, and focus in compiling this information from third-party sources. Think of it like going to a specialized librarian. If you're looking to, let's say, practice permaculture in a tropical setting, you can rack your brain trying to go through all sorts of online libraries, chase down all sorts of arcane or obscure materials, or you can go to somebody who has an ebook or online course focused on that specific topic. Get paid to talk about stuff you're curious about. Another benefit of selling your expertise is that you get paid to talk about information that you are curious about. This means that you have all the incentive in the world to feed your curiosity. When was the last time that happened at your day job? Chances are there's a big disconnect between what you do for a living and the activities and subjects that you are personally passionate about. When you sell your expertise in the form of a course, an online program, or some sort of book, you get paid to talk about stuff that makes you curious or which pushes you to investigate. This is actually one of the most fulfilling and gratifying benefits of selling your expertise. You're not being paid to push a button. You're not being paid to do something that you've done millions of times before, which feels like it drains your soul. Instead, you're being paid to really pursue your passions. Get paid for others to pick your brain. One of the most fulfilling things people can do on this planet is to interact with each other where their understanding is not only challenged, but enhanced. Let me tell you, when it comes to hanging out with other people, one of the most satisfying and rewarding experiences you could get is when you get that aha moment. When somebody shares something with you that you didn't know before, or shared information with you that enabled you to realize something that you did not know before, the sense of discovery and putting pieces together in your mind is a very positive experience. It excites a lot of people, and you get this opportunity where you get paid for other people to pick your brain. They ask you question after question, and it's your job to basically take those questions and mentally pick them apart and come up with an answer. You are not only challenging your present knowledge, but you're also being paid to think. Let's face it, not all of us are engaged at this level. Not all of us are getting paid to achieve that aha moment. You're basically getting money to develop as a human being. What's not to love? Benefit from passive models of selling your expertise. One of the key selling points of selling your expertise to others is the fact that you can develop a passive income stream. When you work for somebody else, generally speaking, you have to sell your time for money. That's the exchange. You agree to show up at a certain time at a certain place to do certain things, and in exchange for that, you get paid. You trade your time for money. This is a serious problem because, obviously, there's only one of you. You cannot be in two places at one time. Also, there are only 24 hours in a day. It's not like you have an infinite inventory of time to sell at any given day. It is no surprise that a lot of people burn out from active income. That's what this is. When you trade your time for money, you are engaged in active income. If you stop taking action, you stop earning. Passive income works the other way. You work once, or you work very little, and then the asset that you create continues to generate money. The most obvious example of this involves books. You put in the work to write a book. You write that book once. But once you have published it on Amazon Kindle and it continues to sell many times over, you earn many times from a book that you worked once to create. In the brick-and-mortar world, a key example of a passive income is when you buy an apartment complex. You obviously have to work for the money to afford that complex. But once you bought it, every single month, your tenants have to come up with the rent. You just sit back and wait for the rent to come in. From time to time, the property management company sends people out to make sure that the building is in good working order. But for the most part, you don't have to lift a finger to earn the rent money that comes in like clockwork every single month. That is the power of passive income. The good news is, when you sell your expertise, the majority of these business models are passive in nature. You don't have to be there actively coaching people on a one-to-one basis. You can write a book, or you can shoot videos that people can view at their convenience. You can show up at a webinar and be recorded. There are more passive versions of selling your expertise than active ones. You can stop selling your time for money. Sell your personal expert brand. Wouldn't it be great if you earned more money the more you learned? Wouldn't it be awesome if you continue to grow your expertise in any kind of subject and end up getting paid more? That's precisely the position you put yourself in when you sell your expertise. The more people buy your book, the stronger your brand becomes. The more seminars you give, the higher the likelihood that you will get interviewed or people would write about your seminars. In other words, the value of your business grows by you simply doing what you do and reaching out to interested audiences and building an organic following for your expert brand. In other words, the more you sell your expertise, the more powerful your brand becomes. Compare this with working for somebody else. Now, you may be the best employee on the planet and you may bring a lot of value to the table. But at the end of the day, only your boss sees your value, and it's really up to that person whether they would promote you or not. It really boils down to their judgment whether you're going to make more money or not. This is not the case when you're selling your expertise. Because when you impress one person, it's not unusual for that person to tell another person. And then the people they know might be bloggers, so don't be surprised if there are all sorts of blog articles written about you. Before you know it, people want to interview you, and then your personal expert brand continues to grow every time you produce a product. This is how experts build an author platform. They start out with books. They write down the things that they know in a particular specialized body of knowledge in the form of books. If enough of these books get publicized, or if enough people buy these books and are impressed by your expertise, pretty soon they would want you to hold seminars or engage in one-on-one coaching. You can shoot a series of videos and ask people to pay a one-time fee or a monthly membership fee to access those videos. You make passive income when you do this because you only work once to shoot these videos, but you make money every time somebody signs up to view those videos. You obviously can make passive income every time somebody buys books that you have written in the past. Similarly, your brand can get so big that you can hold a live webinar. Prospective audience members get notified that you are going to be holding an online seminar over webcam. They then fill out an appointment form and pay a fee. They show up and you answer people's questions, and a recording is made so seminar attendees can have access to the seminar long after it's over. Finally, as word gets out about your ability to help people and the value of the information you have shared, you can make quite a bit of money doing one-on-one coaching. You can do this on Google Hangouts or Skype. It doesn't really matter. What matters is people can pay you quite a bit of money on an hourly basis or even every 15 minutes. Depending on your field of specialty, you can command hundreds of dollars per coaching hour. This is not unheard of. People have done this before. In fact, top earners charge quite a bit of money for every 15-minute block of time they spend coaching people over the internet. This can get quite lucrative, and it all boils down to developing a solid, personal, expert brand. Different coaching service sales models. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a quick overview of the different ways you can sell your personal expertise. If you have decided to coach people and earn money as a coach, please understand that there are many ways to do it. You're not stuck with just one channel. There are actually several channels you can use to make money selling your personal expertise. This is just an overview. I'm going to devote one video for each of these specific channels. Sell books. If you like to write, or if you know somebody who does, you might want to write down your expertise, put together an outline, and get somebody to write a book. When you produce a book, you automatically get viewed as an expert. I know this is kind of a big claim to make, but understand that if you go to any kind of party, the vast majority of people there have not written books. You have to remember that sitting down to write a book means several things. First, you have to have something that is worth sharing. Maybe it's an interesting story. Maybe it's some sort of expertise or inside knowledge. 2, you have to have the time, effort, and discipline to actually get stuff from your mind converted into text on paper and then edit that material so it's actually readable. In other words, this takes quite a bit of discipline and commitment. The third option here is resourcefulness. Maybe you have interesting information you'd like to share, but you'd rather have somebody do it for you, and that's where ghostwriters come in. Regardless of how you cut it, when you sell books, people's inherent or instinctive respect for authors kicks in because they know how hard it is to write. They know that putting a book together is not actually a walk in the park. You get instant respect and instant authority status by simply producing one book after another in your area of expertise. Sell video courses. Let's face it, if you're trying to teach somebody a new concept, one of the most effective ways to do this is not to get them to sit down and read a book you wrote. Sure, your book might have all sorts of interesting graphics and diagrams, but at the end of the day, there's really no substitute for face-to-face interaction. This doesn't mean that you have to be in front of them live. You can shoot a video and have the same effect. How come? Well, when people watch a video of you giving a lecture or speaking directly to them, sharing information, they pay close attention to your eyes. They also pick up on your facial expressions, your gestures, and your body language. Finally, they make snap judgments about how you talk, what you talk about, and how quickly you speak. All of these are instantly put together in their minds, and they make a quick judgment. Either they feel comfortable and they think you are trustworthy enough to listen to and learn from, or they simply reject you at some level or other. They may seem like they're listening, but they're not. Still, when people watch videos, a lot of this dynamic is replicated. This is why platforms like Udemy.com are so popular and successful. People spend millions of dollars every single year on courses from this platform to learn all sorts of subjects. You don't necessarily have to put your video courses on Udemy, but you can benefit from the same dynamic. Video courses do work because when people watch you and you're animated and they see you talk excitedly about a subject that they're interested in, chances are they will absorb that information and find you credible enough and authoritative enough to want to buy more courses from you. Scheduled webinars. Scheduled webinars are quite different from video courses. When you shoot a video course, there's really no time element. You can shoot it all at one time, and as long as people are able to access your website, they can pay you money to access your videos. They can watch your video the next day, or they can watch your series 2 years from now. They still see you on video, they engage with what they see, and they pick up information. Live scheduled webinars operate on a different dynamic. The visitor actually has to show up to view your video at a scheduled time. When they go to your webinar sign-up page, they have to set up an appointment. Once they have selected a specific date and time, they get an email reminder to show up. After all, they paid for the webinar, or they pay when they show up. A lot of coaches prefer this method because you work less. Unlike a video course where you basically have to shoot hours of footage covering a wide range of subjects because you are teaching people a fairly comprehensive set of information, Scheduled webinars are actually more compact. Usually, they run no more than 2 hours. When you hold a seminar, you only focus on a fairly narrow range of topics. This saves you a tremendous amount of time. In terms of presentation, it also saves you quite a bit of resources when it comes to actual research. Still, scheduled webinars are actually recorded videos. So, these people that are signing up for a specific type of information are actually just setting up an appointment to watch a pre-recorded video on a fairly narrow topic. There is really no one-to-one interaction. There's definitely no interaction with the audience. People just sign up to watch the video at a specific date and a specific time. Live webinars. A live webinar is pretty self-explanatory. People show up at a specific time. They book that time and they pay for it. You show up and you speak relatively briefly about a pre-scheduled set of topics. After that, it's a free-for-all. The people who show up in front of their computers to see you on webcam can then turn on their cameras and you can see them asking you all sorts of questions. The value of live webinars is the interplay between you and your audience members. Please understand that different audiences have different interests and different questions. It also depends on when your webinar is set. If you're setting it at a specific time of the year where people are concerned about giving gifts or planning vacations, those are probably the kinds of questions you will get. If you were to set up your webinar earlier in the year or in the middle of the year, people might have different interests. Whatever the case may be, live webinars can run anywhere from 1 to 4 hours, and its value really all boils down to the questions people bring and your answers to those questions. There's also a tremendous amount of call and response between you and your audience members. They send you signals, you send them signals. They're excited, you get excited, and everybody has a good time. One-on-one coaching. This form of coaching involves somebody going to your website, setting up a schedule for you to talk to them one-on-one over Google Hangouts or Skype. When that time comes, they show up, and you provide coaching. For them to book you for that appointment, they have to pay. This is a great way to directly coach somebody. There's really no right or wrong answer regarding which sales model you should choose. However, if you are serious about building a solid expert brand, you might want to consider doing all 5 because if you think about it, they all flow into each other. The more people are exposed to your books, the more famous and credible your author brand becomes. This increases the likelihood that people will sign up for more video courses. If people like your video courses, they may like it so much they would sign up for live webinars, one-on-one coaching, as well as scheduled webinars. These different channels actually reinforce you to them. They don't necessarily cancel each other out. Sell your coaching expertise through books. This method of selling your coaching expertise involves publishing books in a narrow range of niches. You're not going to publish a book that claims to talk about everything and anything related to your industry. That's not going to work. The narrower your range of topics, the better. You get a much better opportunity to highlight your expertise. In your book, you address key questions involved in your niche. For example, you know how to brew beer at home. If you write a book on home brewing, you can talk about ideal conditions for brewing as well as common problems people encounter that prevent them from brewing amazing beer. These questions are predictable. They don't come out of left field, and it's very easy to control the flow and shape of the expert information and opinion that you're sharing in your book. The name of the game is to showcase your knowledge and build up your personal expert brand. This book is really your business card. It tells the world that you know what you're talking about. People only need to read what you have to say on certain topics to be shown in no uncertain terms that you walk the walk. Advantages of coaching through books. The primary advantage of this coaching channel is that it's completely passive. You only work once to compile or write the book. Maybe you had the book ghostwritten at ozkey.org or other low-cost yet high-value writing services. Regardless of how you got the book made, you only do it once. The good news is that book can sell many times over in the course of a year. In fact, there are many book authors on Amazon Kindle who make tens of thousands of dollars off a book that they have written several years ago. Remember, they only worked once to publish that book, but every single year they're making all this money. You can do the same with books covering subjects within your expertise. As I mentioned earlier, when you publish a book, you stand out from the crowd. You have to remember that in any place, there are likely to be experts in the same specialization as you. However, not all of them can write a book. Maybe they don't have the time or the discipline to do it. However, you have come up with a book, and this gives you a tremendous competitive advantage. Each book must be set up properly for it to benefit you optimally. What am I talking about? Each book should promote your author website. If you don't have one, put one up because this is the website that highlights your expertise and expert status. Every book you produce must have a link to that site. When they click it, they see your picture, your biography, your resume, your list of books, and other experiences. In other words, they get the information they need to determine whether you are an expert or not. The good news here is you can make quick work of developing a solid author brand in your area of expertise. How? You can write tons of books through Outsource. You don't have to lift a finger to write this material. You just hire low-cost, high-volume, high-quality writing services like Ozkey.org. They would be able to drill down in your narrow expert niche. They crank out book after book all bearing your name. The more books you publish, the bigger of an expert you become. Interestingly enough, the more books you publish, the less promoting you need to do. How come? Your older books have promoted your author website so much that when people join your author website's mailing list, you only need to send out an update telling people that your latest book has arrived for you to rack up quite a bit of sales. In fact, a lot of expert coaches self-publish only using Kindle, yet they make quite a bit of money and are recognized experts in their field. You can do the same. Disadvantages. Please understand that just because you published a book doesn't automatically mean clients will show up. This is especially true if you're just starting out. If you're starting out from square one and nobody has heard of you, you're going to have to do promotions. The good news is the more books you produce and the more you promote them, the easier it would be to drum up attention for your later books. Please understand that you're going to have to spend time, effort, and yes, even money to promote your books. This is not one of those things that you build and all of a sudden demand will show up. It doesn't work that way. You have to put in the time to drive awareness for your books. Also, unless you publish on a grand scale, and I'm talking about releasing a huge number of books in a short period of time, your author profile can take a while to develop. Keep this in mind. This is not something that will happen overnight. Step-by-step guide. Step 1. Focus on a niche. The first thing that you need to do to succeed in coaching through books is laser target niche focusing. In other words, be clear as to what you want to specialize in and focus on that only. Master it. Seek out an area of expertise that is an inch wide, but plunge miles deep. Know it inside and out. This is how you build a solid foundation for your expert brand. The flip side to this, which you also need to pay attention to, is that it has to be in a niche where there is enough demand. Let's be clear. You can be an expert basket weaver, but if nobody is really interested in getting coaching, much less books about basket weaving, you're not going to make any money. Focus on a niche that people would actually pay money for. One way to estimate this is to go to Amazon Kindle and look at the sales rankings of books within a subject category. If you notice that a lot of the books sold that have lower rankings in the top seller lists have sales scores of 10,000 or lower, you are in a high demand niche. This may be a good niche to select. Step 2. Find your niche on Amazon Kindle. Now that you have a clear understanding of the niche that you want to specialize in, find your niche on Amazon Kindle. It has to be there, and it has to have decent demand. Step 3. Pick a sub-niche that doesn't have much competition. Assuming that there's a lot of competition in your Amazon Kindle niche, feel free to dial down or skip down to a sub-niche. The key here is to look for a sub-niche that doesn't have much competition but still enjoys decent demand. This takes quite a bit of research. You can use tools like KD Spy to find keyword demand patterns on Amazon. Step 4. Focus your book on your target sub-niche. Now that you have identified the sub-niche that you are going to specialize in, sit down and focus your book's firepower on that sub-niche. Demonstrate through your book that you are an expert in that sub-niche. Nail it down, hammer it, bring home the point. Step 5. Create a link in your book that highlights your author brand. At the top of your book, you should put a link to your official author website. This official author website is not just your online calling card. It's not just a place to put a nice picture of you. Instead, it highlights why you should be considered an authority. Maybe you should list down the books you publish there. Maybe you should list your awards and accomplishments. Whatever the case may be, it drives home the point that you are worth listening to if people are looking for information in the niches that you cover. Step 6. Find related sub-niches and write a book on that sub-niche. Now that you have written your first book on a sub-niche within your specific field of expertise, now is the time to write your second book. Find a related sub-niche and write a book on that sub-niche. Step 7. Repeat until you have covered your whole niche. By this point, you have chopped up your field of expertise into different sub-niches. You've also written a specific book for each of those sub-niches. Keep repeating the process until you have covered your whole niche. Step 8. Write more books to drill down your expertise and your niches. Within this niche, you already have one book covering sub-niches. At this point, you should drill down. What other topics within your sub-niche haven't you talked about before? Write specific books on these. In other words, don't leave any stone unturned. Don't leave any issues unexplored. Allow your author name to be found with all keywords related to your niche. This is how you develop a niche focus that is an inch wide but miles deep. Every mile down is a book, and every quarter or eighth of an inch is a sub-niche that you have a specific book on. Eventually, when people find themselves on Amazon looking through books related to your niche, they will always keep running into your author brand. It's only a matter of time until they click on the author profile and they end up on your author page where you list your credentials. Regardless, thanks to this constant branding, chances are you will be recognized by your book's buyers as a bona fide expert within your areas of expertise.